Hi, my name is Amber Stewart, and today I am going to present to you the Smith and Ragan instructional design model. So the Smith and Ragan is a system-oriented instructional design model. This model applies a systematic problem-solving process that results in learner-centered instruction. There are three major parts to this model. It's the analysis, the strategy, and the evaluation. It is an 8-step approach, and by system-oriented instruction, that means that it builds on a system of theories and system thinking in order to develop practices for addressing complexity in design. And so the benefits of a system-oriented instruction is that it's based on a combination of practical experiences, theory, and research. It's empirical and replicable and can be used multiple times and with multiple learners. It is also generalized across the delivery system, meaning that it can be used in multiple areas like teacher-directed instruction or self-instructional print. It begins with an analysis of what the learners are to know and be able to do as a result of the instruction. It also provides a clear link between between design task and instructional components, and that allows for teachers to be able to make sure that the alignment of instructional events and activities are aligned with the student assessments that are also aligned with the learning objective and the strategies. And so this is looking at the phases for the Smith and Ragan. It is broken down the analysis, the learning context, the learners, and the learning task, and then writing the test items. The strategy is to determine how it's going to be presented to the learners, and then write and produce instruction. So that would be the lessons that you are going to introduce to the students. The evaluation is to conduct a formative evaluation and then revise instruction if needed. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to break each of these down for us today to help us have a better understanding of the Smith and Ragan. So phase 1 is the analysis. It is a 4-part. It looks at contextual, learner, task analysis, and planning for assessment of the learning. Contextual analysis is first given a needs assessment, and it is administered to the target audience. The instructional design and learning result in the desired performance. In the contextual analysis phase, the developer will also look at the environment and the context of the learning. The 3 environmental domains are physical, social, and instructional. Physical looks at the actual classroom and where the instruction will be given. Social looks at the learner's social connection with the teachers and the peers. And then instructional looks at the instructional goals for the learners and how they are using the strategies to achieve their learning goals. In the learner analysis, it reveals what the learners can and cannot do. It also looks at learners' characteristics, which goes in line with the multiple intelligence theory. In the task analysis phase, it is allowing the learners to drive their instruction. It provides a list of learning goals and objectives for the lesson. It also has 3 domains, and that looks at cognitive, psychomotor, and affective. The cognitive domain looks at the task and objectives used to recall the information, how the learner will apply the knowledge to problem solving, and other aspects of the learning process. The psychomotor looks at the physical process of completing the learning task, how the learner will use their motor skills in order to complete the activities that are given. The affective looks at the objective, attitude, their emotions, and their values. So it looks at how the learner is able to comply, how to follow, to comment, to volunteer. Some students may spend extra time because they enjoy the activity. That may be a choice that they use throughout their day. And then the last analysis is the planning for assessment. And that is where the question is answered, are the strategies and the instruction helping the learners achieve their goals? Phase 2 are the strategies. There are 3 strategies. They are organizational, delivery, and management. Organizational looks at how instruction will be sequenced and presented to the learners. The delivery looks at how are the learners grouped together and the instructional media. How's it presented? That goes back to the multiple intelligence theory. And so for the learners grouped together, you would look at your needs assessment to see where the students' strengths and where their weaknesses are, and then you would be able to divide those based on those information that you have. In management, it looks at scheduling and implementing the instruction. Phase 3 is the evaluation, and there are 2 forms of evaluation, and that is the formative and the summative. The formative evaluation is when the learners are trying out the activities. This occurs in all stages of the model. You're constantly assessing your students, seeing where they are, what they need, and then changing your lessons based on that. And then you are making sure that the learning objectives are being met and revised if needed. So if you're implementing an activity and you see that your learners are not understanding the content, you're able to go back and change to revamp, maybe administer new activities that will hopefully help those learners achieve those goals. In the summative, it is looking at the collection and summarize the data in regards to the overall effectiveness, the appeal, and the efficiency of the instruction. So there we are looking at were the students able to meet those learning goals? Was it something that they wanted to do, or were they bored, or did they just not have any interest in it? We want to make sure that what we're doing is helping our learners achieve those learning goals that we've met or set for them. And then Ragan and Smith and Ragan, should not be implemented in the first round of instruction. That is their suggestion, because they feel as if usually in the first round of instruction, teachers and trainers are usually learning how to implement the instruction. And so, we're learning along with the students. And so if we are able to implement this multiple times in other areas of our learning, then we're able to have a better look. We're able to get better data because, we understand more of what we're doing, what's expected, and how we need to help our students achieve their goals. And so I teach preschool. I am with 3, 4, and 5-year-olds. And so this is how I think I could use Smith and Ragan within our classroom. So our objective is for students will increase their learning of their alphabet knowledge. And so my formative assessment would be assess students to see if the strategies used work to meet their goal. I would give the needs assessment. We like to assess our students to see where they are in their alphabet knowledge. And then depending on that, during our small group, during the day, we are able to break it down. I sort my students based on their needs, based on their developmental levels, and where they are depending on what the activity is. And so for this, the analysis, students are given an alphabet knowledge assessment to see where they are, identifying their letters and sounds. The strategy would be, depending on what the student needs, determines which small group they would be placed in. So because I know I'm working on letter identification, their small groups would be centered around letters. That's their main content. And so group 1 is looking at a letter identification. The learners will play a letter memory game, and they will match the correct letter and identify the letter. At the beginning, because this is a weakness, they may need adult assistance to start. And then as we implement this activity more throughout the year, the adult assistance will be less. We won't offer it as much. And then for small group 2 are letter sounds. Using the iPad and the alphabet puzzle, students will work on letter sounds. They'll pick a letter and push the letter on the iPad to hear the letter sound, and then they can practice repeating those letter sounds. And then phase 3 is the evaluation. At the end of 2 months, students will be given the alphabet knowledge assessment to see if the strategies worked and to document where they are after 2 months. If the strategies did not work or did not improve the student knowledge, then I will implement new strategies and administer a new evaluation to look at our strategies. And then we would implement this again. We assess our students every 2 months, and so we would continue this, and if they're gaining knowledge, we could build on it. If they're not, then we would revamp our strategies, and that is where we would reach out to other teachers that maybe have more success in letter identification and letter sounds and see what they're doing to help those students in their classes achieve those goals. And so this is looking at a more realistic representation of instructional design practice. Everything is intertwined. It is a continuous process. It's continuously looking at what can we do to help our students meet their goals, what can we do to make things better, evaluating our instruction, evaluating our activities, our lessons, to make sure that we are ultimately helping students move forward and achieve their learning targets. And these are my references, and thank you for looking at my presentation.